they begin,
Right.
right? Right.
So that's where I spend a lot of time with people. So that's a combination of personal branding and coaching.
Okay, could you just repeat what the VPs stand for? You said
Yep.
vision?
Vision.
Yeah.
So vision is a bigger world concept.
Yes.
And we like to understand, what a bigger world issue you would like to see resolved and how that ties into your brand.
Okay.
Values, purpose. Your
Yeah.
purpose is turning that vision into reality, and passion. Values and passion are very easy to do, so I always start with those. Vision and purpose are very hard. Clients have a very hard time with that, and that's where a lot of the coaching comes in. I have to actually draw that out from them and ask them a lot of questions. But it's really important because it all ties to your brand. So, for example, for me, my vision, and I had to go through this process, obviously, multiple times.
Yeah.
My vision is that everybody is in a job that they're happy in, and that people have work-life balance, because I've had so many sort of not fantastic experiences in the corporate and nonprofit world. I'm really passionate about people having time in their life for things that matter, like children and hobbies, and having jobs that they're fulfilled about. That's sort of my big picture vision, right? My purpose is how I'm going to make that happen is by coaching individuals and helping them through that.
Yes.
That all ties into the brand. At the culmination of this first phase, we do a personal brand statement. And a personal brand statement, it sounds like an elevator pitch. It really isn't. It's a reminder of who you are and what you stand for and what you're trying to accomplish. And that gets rolled up from the goals, the VPs, your target audience, your 360, the same different exercise, and then we roll it up, and then we start working from there.
Okay, the personal brand statement, is that a sentence or
It's usually a couple sentences long, and it's usually talks about who you are in the market you're serving and what you're trying to resolve. And it's more a reminder for the client than something you would use as an elevator pitch, but you can extract an elevator pitch from it. So first we do the personal brand statement, and then from that you might have several elevator pitches, or what we call a branded bio, which is very different than a chronological bio.
Yes. Okay. Wow. All right. So
you're saying it's a fairly extensive process?
Yes.
Not going to happen in a week.
Right. Okay. All right. So you get all the feedback, and the report gets crunched. You read it. You talk to the client. You start defining all this. Then how do you integrate all this branding that's been created into your resume and cover letter and those kinds of things?
Great questions. So the extract phase is figuring it all out, right? Once we figure out what your brand is and how you're differentiated and compelling and who your target audience and where you're trying to go, then in phase 2 we start the express phase. So career marketing documents are part of the express phase. Your resume, cover letters, bios, LinkedIn profiles. So when you think about a resume, when somebody sends you a resume, the top third of the resume where they have their career profile, that's your brand. And it needs to be crystal clear, because if you have, I see this all the time, resumes that come in, highly successful sales professional with 15 plus years experience, great communicator, it's not branded. You have to take what's unique and compelling and differentiated about you and get it in that top third of the resume. And that's hard work. Whether I write the resume for the client or I use a resume writer, it has to be in there. And if there are certain attributes or brand attributes that are really unique to you, you want it not just in that top third, but in the bullets. You want to make sure those things come out. So that's the first place. LinkedIn profile, your summary. It needs to be branded based on what we have found out in this first phase. Cover letters, you want to take your brand and your uniqueness and express it in your cover letter. It really needs to go through all those documents. That's one part. And then the next part is figuring out who your target audience is, where they network and hang out in the world, so to speak, and how are you going to reach them. And we build a media plan for the client based on their goals and their target audience and how to reach. So it could include blogs, it could include newsletters, it could include public speaking, it could include article writing. There's like 7 or 8 venues or on the communication wheel. And what we do with the client is maybe pick 2 or 3 of those that they like and that are going to reach their target audience. So if your target audience is a CEO, you wouldn't
Right.
pick an e-newsletter because they don't read e-newsletters. They're
Facebook,
they're
yeah.
secretaries do,
Right,
right?
right.
So there's several criteria. First, you pick a communication vehicle that you like, and two, it has to reach your target audience.
Right.
And then you need a content theme. So in other words, what are you going to write or speak about? And you can't have 10 things because then you're diluting your brand. You need to have one thing, one area of thought leadership
Yes.
that you're going to communicate and speak about, and then you want to communicate that using all the vehicles. So you see, it's pretty extensive.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Are you recommending at all that, we are talking about job candidates basically, but are you recommending at all that they have their own website, or they do?
Depends.
Okay.
Depends on their goal.
Okay.
If they are trying to reach a certain target audience and that could be effective, then we would look at having a blog site more than a
Yeah,
website,
a
because
blog
blog
site,
site's
okay.
easier. And I have people that do those for me, for my clients.
Yeah.
So it depends on what we determine in the it depends on what they like for communication vehicles. So if they're more of a writer, we might do that.
Okay.
Other people are more speakers, so they might
Okay.
be doing more speaking engagements. Blog sites are really easy
Yes.
to develop, and if they have a good area of thought leadership and they have a lot of content, then that makes sense, because every time you post a blog post,
Yes.
every time you tweet it, that's another link in the Google rankings.
Right.
And it's all about, when you're online, increasing your Google rankings and your online identity.
Absolutely. And also Zoom info, right? You would want to make sure that that's current.
That's part of what we call profiling, where you take your
Okay.
branded bio and then
Yes.
you make sure that your branded bio is in the appropriate site so people find it. That would be one, yes.
Okay. So we've really talked about in this piece of the conversation about the expressing, right? And I just realized I'm not sure
They
this
all
is clear.
begin
They're
with an E.
beginning with an E, right?
Right.
Okay, so the
Do you
third.
know why?
Well, I'm thinking excellent. I don't know.
Well, that's what everybody says, but that's good. They all begin with EX, and
Yeah.
it's really important to understand why, because branding is externally focused. Doesn't matter what I think of myself.
No, absolutely. You're
It
so
matters
right.
what everybody else around me thinks.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
it's externally focused. And when I get the 360 back from people, the assessment report, they have to do their own self-assessment. And we compare how they perceive themselves to how everybody else does. And
Right.
oftentimes they are
Yeah.
not the same.
Yeah.
And I say to them, it doesn't matter if you see yourself as collaborative. This report is telling that you're not. And everybody else
Yeah.
sees you that way. So
Yeah.
we need to pay attention to that.
Right.
And
right.
that allows for some coaching,
Sure.
obviously.
Sure.
Sort of how are we going to do that?
Okay.